Today, I'm here to introduce you to something that affects us all, the Drain the Swamp animated video. It's like an epic quest, and we're the heroes who can make a difference in our nation's future. Now, this video is based on two powerful documents, the analysis of the swamp and the plan to drain the swamp. Together, they're like our treasure maps to understand how we got here and what we can do about it. First, let's talk about the analysis of the swamp. It's like peeling back the layers of a mystery. We dig deep to find out how this swamp in Washington, D.C. came to be. You'll learn about the good, the bad, and the downright ugly parts of it. But remember, it's not all doom and gloom. There are some elements that do serve the interests of we the people, and we want to keep those intact. It's all about striking that balance and ensuring that the swamp doesn't swallow us whole. Now, on to the plan to drain the swamp. Think of it as our hero's journey to make things right. We've got 7 different messengers, each with their unique perspective and audience. From civic advocates to business leaders, they're all here to share their wisdom on how we can clean up this swamp. But we're not just here to watch, we're here to take action. This video isn't just about awareness, it's about motivating you, inspiring you, and encouraging you to become a part of the solution. Remember, the swamp isn't in the best interests of we the people, and it's time we address it. Whether it's stopping corruption, making things transparent, or preserving what's good, we're in this together for the love of God and country. So grab your metaphorical capes, my friends, because we're about to embark on an epic journey to restore sanity, one step at a time. Get ready to dive into the analysis of the swamp and the plan to drain the swamp. It's time for us to be the heroes our nation needs. Let's do this.
In Washington, D.C., there is a growing perception of a swamp, a system riddled with corruption, special interest influence, and a lack of transparency. This affects all of us, and it's time for change. We believe in a government that is accountable, ethical, and responsive to the needs of the people. Our mission is to reform the system, promote transparency, and prioritize the public interest. We're committed to restoring your trust in government and working together to create a more accountable and efficient Washington, D.C.
As your elected representative, I'm here to tell you that we're working tirelessly to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. It's about ensuring that your voice is heard and that government is working for you, not special interests. Join us in our mission for a more accountable government that serves your needs.
We, as advocates for government reform, understand the urgency of draining the swamp. Let's collaborate to increase transparency, reduce corruption, and restore public trust. Together, we can build a government that truly represents the people's interests.
In order to promote fair competition and a level playing field, it's essential that we address the issues associated with the swamp. Let's work together to ensure government policies prioritize economic growth and ethical conduct.
Our grassroots movement is gaining momentum. Join us in our fight to drain the swamp and bring transparency and accountability to Washington, D.C. Together, we can make a difference and reclaim our democracy.
The future of our democracy is in your hands. It's time to engage, demand change, and drain the swamp. Let's build a government that reflects our values and priorities, ensuring a better future for all.
The Drain the Swamp analysis is an examination of the perceived issues and challenges associated with the so-called swamp in Washington, D.C. It delves into the origins, causes, and consequences of the swamp, highlighting both its negative and positive aspects. Some key points from the analysis include 1. Origins of the swamp. The swamp is a metaphorical term representing perceived corruption, inefficiency, and special interest influence in government. It originated from factors such as the growth of government, lobbying, campaign finance, and historical scandals. 2. Swamp versus good government. It distinguishes between the concept of the swamp, which signifies corruption and special interest influence, and good government, which represents ethical conduct, transparency, and public interest in governance. 3. Creation of the swamp. The analysis explores how the swamp evolved over time due to factors like campaign financing, lobbying, and partisan polarization. 4. Why politicians and bureaucrats created the swamp. It discusses how certain dynamics, including campaign financing and the revolving door between government and the private sector, may contribute to the perception of the swamp. 5. Why we the people allowed the swamp. The analysis examines factors such as limited awareness, partisan politics, and historical developments that have contributed to challenges in addressing the swamp. 6. What's bad about the swamp? It highlights negative aspects, including corruption, special interest influence, lack of transparency, and public mistrust stemming from the swamp. 7. What's good about the swamp from different standpoints? The analysis presents both positive and negative aspects of the swamp from political and bureaucratic standpoints, recognizing factors like stability, policy expertise, and the checks and balances system. 8. What's good about the swamp for we the people? It acknowledges potential benefits such as participation, accountability, and access to information, while also highlighting drawbacks, including loss of trust and inequality in representation. The Drain the Swamp analysis provides a multifaceted exploration of the concept, offering a balanced view of its origins, impact, and implications for various stakeholders and the broader American democracy.
Our Drain the Swamp plan is a comprehensive vision for reforming Washington, D.C. It's about restoring trust in government, reducing corruption, and ensuring accountability. We're committed to transparency, ethical conduct, and putting the needs of the people first. Our plan includes measures to limit special interest influence, increase government efficiency, and promote bipartisan collaboration. Together, we can create a government that truly serves the American people.
As your presidential candidate, I'm proud to present our Drain the Swamp plan. It's about making government work for you. From campaign finance reform to increased transparency, our vision for a better Washington, D.C. is one that benefits every American.
Our Drain the Swamp plan is a roadmap for a more ethical and accountable government. Join us in advocating for these crucial reforms, from strengthening ethics rules to reducing conflicts of interest. Together, we can create a government that serves as a model of integrity.
A government that operates with transparency and fairness benefits us all. Our Drain the Swamp plan includes measures to level the playing field and promote economic growth. Let's work together to create a business-friendly Washington, D.C.
Our grassroots movement is dedicated to draining the swamp and bringing about a government that truly represents the people. Join us in advocating for these reforms and holding our elected officials accountable.
The future of our democracy is at stake, and our Drain the Swamp plan is a step toward creating a government that aligns with our values. Get involved, engage in the process, and help us build a brighter future.
The Drain the Swamp plan is a comprehensive vision for reforming the government in Washington, D.C., with a focus on reducing corruption, increasing transparency, and ensuring accountability. Some key components of the plan may include 1. Campaign finance reform, implementing measures to reduce the impact of money in politics, such as limiting campaign contributions, increasing disclosure requirements, and exploring public financing options. 2. Lobbying regulation, strengthening lobbying regulations to ensure transparency, restrict undue influence, and prevent conflicts of interest. 3. Ethics rules, enhancing ethics rules and standards for elected officials and government employees to promote ethical conduct and reduce the potential for corruption. 4. Transparency initiatives, increasing transparency in government decision-making, including public access to information, decision-making processes, and financial disclosures. 5. Conflict of interest mitigation, implementing measures to mitigate conflicts of interest, especially in cases involving the revolving door phenomenon where individuals transition between government and the private sector. 6. Government efficiency, identifying opportunities to streamline bureaucracy and improve government efficiency to reduce waste and inefficiency. 7. Bipartisanship and collaboration, promoting bipartisan collaboration to break through political gridlock and pass reforms that benefit the public interest.
I am here to present the Drain the Swamp analysis and plan to a high school audience in a relatable and engaging way. Here's it goes. Scene 1. Introduction. Let me start by addressing the high school audience and expressing the importance of understanding how government works. Scene 2. Brief summary. Allow me to provide you with a concise summary of the presentation's main points. For example, all right, folks, today we talked about something pretty important, draining the swamp. It's not about actual swamps, but rather, it's a metaphor for cleaning up the way our government works. Scene 3. What's the swamp? I'll explain the concept of the swamp in simple terms. The swamp is like when you feel that the people in charge of the government aren't always doing what's best for everyone. Sometimes it seems like they're making decisions based on their own interests or what their rich friends want. Scene 4. Why it matters. I'll emphasize why the topic is relevant to high school students. You might be wondering, why should I care about this? Well, the decisions made in Washington affect things like education, healthcare, and the environment. So, it's important for us to understand how we can make sure our government works for us. Scene 5. The plan. I'll summarize the key points of the Drain the Swamp plan. We discussed a plan to make our government better. It includes things like making sure politicians don't take too much money from big companies, being transparent about what they're doing, and following strict rules to avoid conflicts of interest. Scene 6. Real-life examples. Let me share a relatable example to help you, the students, understand. Imagine if your school had a rule that said the student council couldn't take too much money from one person. That's kind of like what we want for politicians. We also talked about how they should tell us what they're doing, just like your teachers tell you what's on the lesson plan. Scene 7. Getting involved. I encourage students to consider their role in the process. Now here's the cool part. You can get involved too. As future voters and leaders, you have the power to shape the future. You can join clubs, talk to your parents about important issues, and one day even run for office yourself. Scene 8. Conclusion. I'll wrap up with a call to action and a positive message. Then, I'll end this presentation by addressing the high school audience and expressing the importance of understanding how government works. So remember, even though government stuff can seem a bit confusing, it's our job to make sure it works for us. Let's work together to drain the swamp and make our future brighter.